Good afternoon, dreamers. Welcome to the greatest show on earth, Dream Big, where we make the impossible possible. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey and the reciprocity of delayed gratification and the lessons we learn on the way. So I wanted to tell you guys a story today about the man that owned the diamond field. So I told you about this man that owned a diamond field and he threw himself in the river. Well, the moral of that story is don't go running off to the river. Everything you need is right where you are. God has made you perfect in every way, shape, and form. He's given you everything you need to succeed. So when they put Jesus up on that cross, the veil was torn. That gives us access. And then there was a secret that was been held through all the scripture, and then Paul tells it to the people in Ephesians that the gift has been given to the Gentiles. We have access to the Father. Oh man, that made people mad. That made the Jews mad because the Gentiles, they come along and they got faith stronger than the Jews did. So when God showed himself to me, oh my God, it was amazing. It was amazing. Not only was I moved and profound, so I'm going to tell you a story, a true story. When I was in the hole almost for 2 years on this persistent prison misbehavior act. I was selling drugs in the prison. I was fighting in the prison, and they put me in the hole, and it was on an indefinite program. And they wanted me to go through this step down program, which what it does is it educates us, and I wanted to go through the step down program, but I wasn't ready. So this man comes by, and I'm in the hole in Monroe. And oh my gosh, I was in the hole at Monroe, and I'm doing the burpees on these Bibles. And this man comes along, and he asks me, he says, instead of doing burpees on those Bibles, open it up to John 15. A week later, I open it up, and I read it, and I have this profound moment. And then I had this amazing dream. And I seen this big, huge house, and I was moved. I wasn't moved on the fact that the house. I was moved on the fact that I hadn't had a dream in a long, long time. And after I read John 15, I am the vine, you are the branch, with me and you and me. And Jesus says, he says, you are my friend. I'll lay down my life for my friend. Nobody has ever done nothing like that for me. And Jesus did that for me. And then, so God is king. He's my Father. He owns everything. Everything he owns. Ask and you'll receive. Seek and you may find. Knock and it will be open. So I asked the guard, I'm like, will you tell me that man's name? Because I wanted to write it down so I knew his name. And he says, I didn't see nobody come on the tier. And actually they have to sign on to the tier because it's ADSEG, administrative segregation. So they have to sign on this sheet to come on the tier. And he goes, I'll go look on the sheet and I'll go see who that man was. And he comes back a couple hours later and he says, nobody was on the tier. I said, what? Nobody was on the tier? I said, the man came to me and I thought he was a preacher. He said, no, sir, nobody was on the tier. So they moved me to Clallam Bay Correctional Center, and this counselor kept coming by. He had red hair. He was amazing. He was like really patient and kind. And he tells me, sir, are you ready to do the program? I said, yeah, tomorrow I'll do the program. He comes back tomorrow. I was like, yeah, I'll do the program tomorrow. A couple weeks, because I didn't want to let go. I didn't want to let go of that power, and it was false and fake power, though. I didn't want to let go of that. I wasn't ready to let go of the name that I had made, or all that fake, false stuff and the indoctrination that I was teaching people was wrong. I was poisoning people's minds. So I go, it's windy, it's overcast, but it's a beautiful day. God's good. It's an amazing day. So I end up going to the step down program, and when I get in there, I'm like, oh my God, I see people that I hadn't seen in a long time. Really, people that were in, and they were strong gang members. And what they do is they STG you. It's called a security threat group. So I go and see my buddies, and I'm like, oh my God, you guys have been here and you guys are doing this? I never would have thought that they were doing it. And the thing that was bugging me is that I was told a lie by other gang members that you have to debrief. Well, they came and told me, no, you don't have to debrief. And I was like, okay, I'll do the program. So I end up doing this program. I end up going to Cedar Creek. And Cedar Creek's a main fire camp. Oh, it was awesome. I'm feeding Zoom Zooms and Wham Whams to the deer. And oh my gosh. A week later, I get into this class, and it was horticulture, and I'm going to class and I'm learning how to grow and then the science behind it and stuff like that. And it was really cool because I'm a nerd and I love information. I like educating myself. And so they bring me into the CUS's office, and she's a black CUS, and she's from Dominican Republic, and she's got this accent. And she's like, sir, I called you into the office because you're using the N-word on the tier. I said, I don't talk like that. I'm not racist. She said, but you're Aryan, right? I said, no. I said, yeah, but I said, I'm a dropout. And on top of that, I'm not racist. I've never used that word. I got black friends. My wife is Mexican. Well, she's not my wife. She's my girlfriend. I call her my wife because one day we're going to get married. And she deserves the best wedding ever because she's been with me for so long. She's my best friend. Of course she deserves the best wedding. So I'm looking at this CUS, and she's like not believing me. And she's like, okay, I'm going to put you back out there. But I said, where did this kite come from? She's like, it's anonymous. I was like, what? It's anonymous? Anyway, they put me back on the tier. A week later, they cuffed me up and take me to the CUS's office right before they dropped me in the hole. And they said, sir, we got another anonymous kite. And I told you that if it happened again, and I was crushed. They put me in the hole, and they take me back to Clallam Bay. And when they take me back to Clallam Bay, I'm wearing a cross. I'm no longer wearing a freaking hammer, and I'm going to church at Clallam Bay. And I'm going out there, and I'm doing burpees on the yard. First time I'm out there alone, and I'm doing burpees on the yard, and I'm working out alone. And I feel amazing, like this huge weight's been lifted off my shoulders. Well, when you drop out, they come for you. And if they can't take you with one, they'll take you with 2 or 3 off mainline. And normally it's by being stabbed, and it's violent. So they send me back to Clallam Bay, and I'm there for almost 6 months, because 6 months my review's up, and then they send me back to camp. So, long story short, 3 days before I leave for camp, they call me to the fence, and they're like, hey, Steve, come to the fence. And these are active gang members. At this time, I'm inactive. I already dropped out. I already made the choice. I committed, and I felt the best feeling ever. And I'm going to church, and nobody saw me the whole 6 months. And I was like, oh my God. Nobody came and seen me. They didn't freaking take me off mainline. 3 days before I left, they called me to the fence, and they're like, hey, we're just calling to say hey. But that hey was, we're coming to get you. We're going to get you. And I fear no man. So I'm out there on Main Line, and I'm doing my thing, and next thing I know, I'm on the bus. I'm going out to OCC, which is another camp. It was another fire camp. And I was like, oh my God. And I'm listening to these earbuds, and Colder Weather is my favorite song. And that's a truck driving song about a man that goes away, and he's on the road, and he can't get along with his old lady, and his son is like, he writes a song to his son saying, I hope you understand. Yeah. Yeah. But anyway, I go out to OCC, and I do that flawlessly. I end up going to, and you know what's crazy? I had this epiphany. All that was God showing me him. God was showing me, if I'm for you, nobody could come against you. Nobody could touch you. You're doing what I'm supposed. I have you doing. You're in the right wheelhouse, and nobody will come touch you. If God's for you, who could be against you? That was God showing me. Those anonymous kites, that wasn't for nothing else but for me to see that I was doing the right thing. And now that's a big thing, doing the right thing when nobody's looking. That means I'm doing the right thing all the time. So I go out to OCC, which is another camp, and I'm listening to this song over and over and over again. It's a truck driving song, and I don't even know which direction it's giving me. But I go to Peninsula Work Release, and I got my buddy Jimmy Kenyon there, and he's got no teeth. He's like, we're gonna take over the world. We're gonna take over the world, Steve. I'm like, no, I'm not freaking going out there and selling drugs no more. I'm not cooking dope. I'm not doing none of that. And I got this manual, because when I went to the DMV, I asked him, I said, how do I get my commercial driver's license or my commercial driver's permit? I went and talked to Becky, and I'm like, Becky, because that's a place that I was working for, Pacific Coast Evergreens. I was like, Becky, if I bring you my commercial permit in April, will you teach me how to drive? And she's like, yeah, I will. And I reach across the desk, and I look her in the eyes, and I shake her hand. And I'm thinking, later on, I'm like, oh my God, she really didn't think that I was going to commit, because I gave her my word. And I give you people my word right now today. I will do everything I can in the power that I can to get this restaurant up and running, because in the long game, the treatment centers are more important to me than anything else in the world, except for God. And this is for God. So I go and I'm opening, and Jimmy's like sitting there, and he's got his cell phone in there. He's looking at his cell phone, and we're not even supposed to have cell phones in there. And he's like, we're going to take over the world. No, I said, no, we're not. I said, I'm reading this manual so I could get my commercial driver's license. And I read it front to back. When I get out on the streets, oh yeah. And guess what? I got my permit. So when I'm at my mom's house, I got this cell phone. I'm doing these tests over and over and over again. So I downloaded 3 tests, and I did them to where I'm only missing 1 question or 2 questions at a time. So I go in there with the intention to take one test at a time, because there's 3, air combination, and I forget the other one. And it clicks over, and then it clicks over, and I was like, oh my God, I just freaking did that. See, if God's for you, who could be against you? So I get my commercial permit while I'm at work release, never been done before. I take it to Becky, and I'm like, Becky, will you teach me how to drive? And she says, yeah, I'll teach you how to drive. As soon as you get out, I'll teach you how to drive. I get out. I get out and she puts me right on the road with this guy, Cody. Cody ends up being a real good buddy. And he's like, well, you can't drive if you're over there in that passenger seat. You got to come over here. So I go to the East Coast 3 times. And then Chehalis is a third-party tester because these folks are grandfathered in. It's called grandfathered in when you could teach drivers how to drive. I bring a 53-foot trailer out there with a Volvo tractor, and he's like, oh my gosh. He's like, normally they bring these raggedy trucks from driving school with a pup trailer. And he's like, he says, you're going to take your test in that thing? I was like, yeah, I'm going to take my test in that thing. I said, I've been to the East Coast 3 times. I said, here's my logs. He's looking at my logs, and he's like, and he says, hand me your driver's license. He looks at my driver's license. He says, you've been through how many scales? And I said, hundreds of scales. I've been there 3 times. I went from Washington State, I-90, all the way to Fall River, Massachusetts, 28 drops in between. So every time you cross a straight line, you're going across the scale. And he says, not one inspection. I said, nope, not one inspection. And he's like, sir, you wasn't supposed to be out of state with this driver's license. See, if God's for you, who could be against you? If God's for you, who could be against you? So I get out, I end up driving and for them for quite a while. And it was an amazing experience. COVID hits, I get in trouble, I go back, and my pickup truck gets stolen. And I'm like, oh man, my Chevy pickup, that was given to me from a family member that passed away, and I was like heartbroken. I was like, oh my God. Well, God told me, if I take care of myself, that He'll take care of me. So I'm like, okay, I'll stop worrying about the truck. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to stop worrying about the truck. I'm going to buckle down and I'm going to do this program because I was in inpatient treatment at that time in Shelton, Washington. And 3 days before I get out, this guy, his name's Dave, and I'm laying on my bed and I'm praying. I'm like, God, you told me that if I took care of myself, that you'd take care of me. There was a knock on the door and he says, the cops are on the phone and they have your truck pulled over, and your kids' mom, Monica, is on the phone, and she's at a restaurant watching the truck get pulled over. And the cops are so the cops get on the phone with me and they're like, sir, do you want this guy arrested? It's your uncle. He's got your truck. He's got the ignition drilled out. And I said, no, just have him walk. Because I know how many people had me arrested that were family members that were like, yeah, just arrest him. I'm not doing that. We got enough problems. And I was definitely not going to do that. So I sent him walking. Monica picks up my truck, takes it to my mom's house, and they're having a barbecue. She pulls up into my mom's house. It's my mother's 1-year anniversary of her death. See, if God's for you, who could be against you? This time when I got out, Maria, she says, what are you gonna do when you get out? I said, I'm gonna go back to driving trucks. She says, no, you're not. You're gonna build me this restaurant. She says, you don't see, you get everything you want in life when you put your mind to it. So what are you gonna do when you get out? She says. I said, I'm gonna build you this restaurant. And to be honest with you, it's not for her. She's like amazing and she loves me, but she doesn't want to hear no business because I obsess over things and I get crazy. I'm like, okay. And then I start talking about it and everything's about that. Because I know God's moved me in a direction. He wants this and He's going to get it. If God's for you, nothing can come against God because God is the king, the Alpha, the Omega. He's the first and the last. He knows all. Jonah, how did it work out for him? He ended up in Nineveh. preaching. And you know what's crazy? They turn their lives over to God. Immediately he says they're gonna rain, God's gonna rain hellfire and earth on this, and he's gonna burn it to the ground. And they freaking repented. They gave their lives to God, and Jonah heads off, and he's like, and then you know what Jonah's doing? Sitting on the beach sulking. A flower grows up, and then a worm eats the flower, and Jonah's having it out with God right then. Me, I don't want to have it out with God. I just want to be gracious. I want to be thankful that he saved my life. God saved me from me. And that's why I talk a lot about the Lord. And then I open the scripture, and God like speaks to me through the scripture. And then I'm like, why? Why would you give me such a big understanding of the laws and how the Lord works? And I figure God's going to use me as a tool. He's going to use me as a tool. I'm going to let him. And those who trust in the Lord will not be disappointed. And like I said, this is terrifying. This is the most terrifying thing I've ever done in my life, because it's a big business. This is big business, but it's God's business. I don't want to mess this up. Yesterday, I told you that a man freaking was trying to get me to do something with my GoFundMe page, and I'm not allowing that. I'm just not allowing that. So it's raining out here. Well, not really. It's just overcast and sprinkling down. So I don't even know if you guys could see me, but God's amazing. Remember, dream big always. And like I said, I'm going to keep putting one foot in front of the other. I love you, dreamers. Keep following my page. I'll be as authentic tomorrow as I am today. Genuine tomorrow as I am today. And we're going to get this up and running. So I'm grateful. God bless you. And don't forget to dream big. Hit like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget the comments and the remarks below. Love you. Bye.